Revelation 3674. From the 2nd of February 1946. God's language through natural disaster. Let creation speak to you. This call has already gone out to you countless times, yet you pay no attention to it. You live as my living creations in the midst of creation and indifferently accept all wonders of nature. You don't let yourselves be impressed by them, you don't learn from them, and thus the language of creation fades away at your ear without you deriving any benefit from it. And time and again I come close to you in it, I show you my constant activity and my strength. Time and again I let new creations arise in order to direct your senses towards me, and I repeat this in regularity. And precisely this regularity lets you become indifferent and disregard my activity. And if I overturn this lawfulness, if changes occur in nature contrary to my lawfulness, even then you pay no attention to them because your physical life keeps you so imprisoned that your thoughts and aspirations only concern the well-being of the body and your thoughts are only concerned with earthly worries. You are indifferent to the creation around and above you, and thus you are also indifferent to the eternal Creator Himself. You cannot find the path to Him. And this moves me to an urgent admonition, to a loud language which you must hear, even if you are excessively entangled in bodily worries and no longer have an eye and ear for my rule and activity in nature. So that you do not pay attention to the constant miracles around you, I meet you in an obvious way. I speak loudly and penetratingly. Yet again through nature, because this is still the only way to influence you humans' thinking. And indeed, I overrule my lawfulness for a short time because I am Lord over heaven and earth and thus also over all laws which have me as their author. Nevertheless, this activity is also based on a lawfulness which is difficult for you humans to recognize. But now I also want to make people suspicious who do not believe in a change of nature to the extent it is announced. I want them to let nature speak to them and that they also listen to me, that they learn to recognize the raging of the elements of nature as my voice, as my utterance, although I leave their will free. Yet my language shall be audible to them, for where no human will is active, where no human will is able to stop it, a power must and can be recognized which is stronger than human will. And this is the purpose of my language from above. If people are hopelessly at the mercy of the forces of nature, if they have no earthly hope of help, if they have to realize that something extraordinary, natural, is happening, faith in a higher power can still be born if a person is not completely obdurate and thus far away from me. I speak to all, but especially to those who find their way to me in greatest need, who require such a means of force in order to recognize the voice of their Father and Creator from eternity. It is a mighty event of such magnitude that the whole world is mentally pointed to the supreme power and can confess it, because I so obviously express myself at a time when the world lies in deepest sin and people commit acts of most blatant unkindness. Whoever wants to hear will also recognize the voice of the Father and the Judge, and whoever wants to see will also see His love and power in that happening which earthly certainly means the end for many people but which can bring salvation to just as many spiritually, depending on the person's will. And therefore the whole of humanity can benefit from it, although not the whole of humanity will be affected. Yet they will hear my voice in all clarity because it sounds too powerfully and touches every person's ear for the sake of his soul's salvation. Because the whole of humanity will have to take notice of a work of destruction which is unimaginably great and terrifies the whole world. But I have proclaimed it long before, and everywhere my servants are active on earth, pointing to my intervention, to the work which precedes the last end, so that people will reflect and find their way back to me before the end. And thus every nation, Every people and thus also every individual will be able to benefit from it if he takes my language to heart and heeds my last admonition. But anyone who still does not understand or wants to understand the Creator's language will be ruined by the end. He will have to answer for himself as my adversary, and the just punishment will befall him. Amen.